Investments in infrastructure.
Investments in civil infrastructure are crucial for the long-term development of a country. However, indigenous people in warm climate countries may not prioritize such investments due to their natural psychology, which favors short-term gain over long-term investments. Properly allocating resources to civil infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, power plants, and water systems, requires a significant amount of money and a long period of time to generate a return on investment. Such investments must be repayable after a very long time on low interest, otherwise they would defeat the purpose. The limitation of warm climate countries' peoples to not be able to as well envision the long-term scenario prevents them from being able to effectively devise large project financial plans to execute such infrastructure projects. This lack of investment in civil infrastructure can have severe consequences on a country's development, as it may hinder economic growth, prevent the efficient transportation of goods and people, and limit access to essential services such as electricity and clean water. In contrast, countries that prioritize investment in civil infrastructure, such as Singapore and South Korea, have seen significant economic growth and development. Pakistan can learn from the experiences of these countries and prioritize investments in civil infrastructure. The development of highways, power plants, and water supply systems can create jobs, facilitate trade, and improve the standard of living of its citizens. However, to achieve this, Pakistan will need to overcome the challenges of corruption and mismanagement that have plagued previous infrastructure projects. This can be done once the leaders and international aid agencies tailor and cater their programs to compensate for the unique natural psychology of the recipient population. It will also need to institute guardrails and controls to ensure that the recipients do not mismanage the funds, as they are more naturally inclined to preferring short-term gains over the long-term broader benefit to society. There are many examples of poorly maintained civil infrastructure in warm climate third world countries. For instance, in Pakistan, the power grid is outdated and suffers from frequent outages, which has a severe impact on economic activity and everyday life. Similarly, the country's road network is often in disrepair, with potholes and other damage causing frequent accidents and damage to vehicles. Many bridges in the country are also in a state of disrepair, with concerns about their safety frequently raised. Other examples of poorly maintained civil infrastructure in warm climate third world countries include: in Nigeria, many roads are in poor condition, with potholes and other damage making travel difficult and dangerous. The country's power grid is also unreliable, with frequent outages. In India, many cities suffer from severe air pollution, with a lack of proper waste management infrastructure contributing to the problem. The country's roads and bridges are also often in poor condition, with accidents and damage to vehicles a common occurrence. The country's power grid is also unreliable, with frequent outages. Overall, the lack of proper investment in civil infrastructure in warm climate third world countries can have a significant impact on economic activity and quality of life, and is often attributed to the indigenous people's natural psychology towards short-term gain over long-term investment. However, it has never been accepted that this is the result of a specific natural psychology, which results in nations not being able to properly understand the benefits of a large-scale long-term infrastructure investment, and the root cause is their nature. This is not anyone's fault but the way and method of nature. Air quality is a growing concern in many parts of the world, particularly in South Asian countries where it has reached alarming levels. The problem of air pollution in these countries can be attributed, in part, to the natural psychology of the local people. The lack of foresight and inability to delay gratification, which are natural tendencies in warm climate societies, often lead to neglect of the long-term consequences of poor air quality. The poor air quality in turn makes such places less attractive to live in and can exacerbate the brain drain and emigration of talent, an eventual long-term consequence not previously envisioned due to the lack of natural ability. In contrast, in Western cold climate countries, there is a much greater emphasis and investment on environmental protection, which may cost a significant amount of money and yield no immediate return, does in fact result in broader long-term benefits in the form of attractive living conditions, and thus invites many people from around the world, especially from warm climate third world countries. The cost of this neglect is high, as poor air quality leads to a range of health problems such as respiratory illnesses and heart disease. This, in turn, leads to increased healthcare costs and lost productivity. In addition, Poor air quality can have a negative impact on tourism, as visitors are discouraged from visiting areas with high levels of pollution. To address the problem of air pollution in South Asian countries, it is essential to recognize and address the natural psychology of the local people. This can be achieved by investing in education and awareness programs aimed at changing attitudes towards environmental responsibility and by enforcing regulations aimed at reducing pollution. Furthermore, there is a need to invest in infrastructure and technology that can help control pollution, such as better public transportation systems and renewable energy sources. By prioritizing long-term gains over short-term benefits, these countries can take important steps towards improving air quality and promoting a healthier and more sustainable future. The root cause of neglecting air quality regulations and other long-term solutions to infrastructure and development problems in warm climate countries is often the preference for short-term gain. This rationalization to save costs or resources in the short term ultimately leads to greater long-term costs and consequences, both in terms of economic development and public health. However, there are some warm climate countries that have successfully governed authoritatively and implemented policies to protect their environment. For example, Singapore has been successful in preserving its natural environment and maintaining a high quality of life for its residents. The government has implemented policies such as tree planting and environmental education programs to raise awareness about the importance of environmental protection. In addition, they have enforced strict regulations on pollution and deforestation, and have invested in green technology. Similarly, Costa Rica has also made significant strides in preserving its environment. The country has established national parks and reserves, and has implemented policies to encourage sustainable farming and forest management. As a result, the country has seen an increase in ecotourism, which has generated economic benefits while preserving the environment. In contrast, countries that have failed to prioritize environmental preservation often suffer from the consequences of their neglect. This includes soil erosion, water pollution, and loss of biodiversity, which can have negative impacts on agriculture, tourism, and public health. By prioritizing the long-term benefits of environmental protection over short-term gains, warm climate countries can preserve their natural beauty and ensure sustainable economic growth.